how heavily TSM are going to be wanting this Batiste that's been doing phenomenal work for them. Where do you expect these teams to go with it?
I think Gankstars are going to have to ban away Baron first, and then we haven't seen Team Solo Mid first pick the Batiste, so maybe an opportunity for then Gankstars to ban the Batiste in the second ban rotation. For Team Solo Mid, I mean, they can ban away the Kestrel if they really don't want to deal with that from Iraqi Zoro, but there's no, like, one of the great things about Team Solo Mid's drafts is that they can specifically target ban with both of their bans. They don't have to say, okay, this is strong in the meta, so we're going to take it off the board, because they generally can build a composition around just about any pick.
Thoughts, Sweetjay?
Yeah, I agree. I think TSM right now is the best team at draft because of Flash X and his team's experience and knowledge. Vonsi knows this game in and out. Chuck as well. They play every day, all the time. So I feel like that's going to be a huge advantage for TSM when it comes to the drafting. However, you also have Iraqi, Xeno, and the Vanes, and they are very knowledgeable as well. Yeah. But in terms of reputation with drafting and who comes out on top is normally TSM.
Yeah, and we talked about in that last series against Hippo Storm, Gankstars kind of have this reputation of sometimes in the draft it not always going the way that they want it to go, or maybe it is going the way they want it to go, but it's a little bit unorthodox. We'll see if that's going to be the case here, as TSM going to start things off by banning away the Grumpjaw. They do not want that to go into the hands of Xeno.
Yeah, and then we're going to see part of Baron ban incoming. If they don't ban Baron, Gankstars wants to place something into it. So I feel like the Baron ban is going to come out here, and TSM is most likely going to first pick either Batiste or the Vox. So let's see what's going to happen here in the first phase.
Yeah, it's going to be the Baron
no surprises there with the Baron ban. That's just one of the picks you cannot let go over to Team Solo Mid. It is going to be the Vox, so like I said, there is the opportunity for Gankstars to also take the Batiste off the board.
Yeah, that looks really good right now for Gankstars, is to take that Batiste, because Vox Batiste is a comp that, you know, TSM just ran and played it so well against Hammers. So let's see if Gankstars are going to change things up, or are they going to pick a captain potentially like Lyra or something? They're first picking the Kestrel, and it's not a contested hero against TSM.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting pick there. I guess they don't want it banned against them.
There's some very, very heavy focus on this Kestrel from Gankstars.
It could be a contested pick against Team Solo Mid, because Vonsi is another phenomenal Kestrel.
That's true.
And I could very easily see them trying to pick it up just to show Gankstars, hey, we can beat you with this pick as well. So I would not put it past TSM to have tried to pick that up in the jungle. So I'm okay with the first pick Kestrel here from Gankstars. But again, I'm very much surprised that they didn't go for the Batiste ban.
Yeah, this is such a different draft. Maybe they want Batiste with Kestrel.
Could
so
be.
that could be the draft here that Gankstars is looking for. So TSM could ban Batiste away here from Gankstars, and if that happens, then Gankstars can potentially pick Koshka with Kestrel, which would be a very strong duo together here. So let's see what they decide to do.
There's certainly options available, but the Batiste should be a highly contested pick. Now, after we've said all of this, it's probably going to end up not even getting picked at this rate, but we'll have to wait and see. TSM certainly taking their time on this ban. They understand that Gankstars will get the next pick after this one, so they've got to get rid of the most valuable. It's going to be Koshka taken away.
So instead, they're going to ban the Koshka and not let Gankstars take it if they ban Batiste. So now Batiste is open, and I think Gankstars will most likely pick the Batiste here. The Sky ban could be because Sky is... Actually, no, Sky does not do that well against Batiste. It's more of a kind of skill matchup, but she's a mobile hero that Batiste can lock down. So I think Batiste will most likely be picked there, unless they want to pick a captain that they really want, like Lyra, for example. Yep, they're going to pick the Lyra, and now TSM... Lyra's really tricky because Mortal Wound on Vox works really well into Lyra, so now they're going to pick the Batiste and potentially Lance here, and that's a strong combo that they have ran into success versus Lyra comps.
Yeah, and a lot of cleave in that composition as well. Like, if you can fight in the jungle with a Vox, Batiste, and a Lance, then you'll be able to just tear through health bars. The Batiste is going to be a lock-in for TSM, and now they've just got to decide on that captain as well to see what they want to round out this composition with.
And I'm just kind of surprised that they let the Batiste go through. I think that's a big mistake from Gankstars to allow Vonsi to get his hands on that hero. And I'm almost wondering if maybe does Xenotech not play this hero, because I'm looking at his, the solo queue stats, at least for his main account, and he doesn't have any games on record as Batiste. So if he is playing it, it's on a different account, but it is very surprising that you just let that pick go
Yeah,
over to
and they
TSM
might-
after
well,
the
they
way
might
that they
go-
played it.
CP Blackfeather here, I feel, because CP Blackfeather can dodge the roots and the Baptiste. That would be probably the best bet, but they can't even go with CP Glaive, honestly. But I think CP Blackfeather would make the most sense for Xeno here, or even Rhyme to stand the ground and fight back against Baptiste. So Rhyme or CP Blackfeather would make the most sense, but they may surprise me. Who knows?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of different things available for them. They've only got a couple of seconds to pick it up, and it is going to be a Samuel going into that jungle for them.
That's
So-
going to be a rough matchup.
Suijay not
TSM
sounding
played
persuaded.
against Samuel, against Hammers, and destroyed him with Lance and Baptiste.
This is reminding me a lot of last season when we first saw Taka start to come out as the counter to Samuel, and everyone just continued to run Samuel without banning away the Taka. And now they're just running Samuel into Baptiste, even though we've seen Baptiste counter the Samuel extremely hard a few times already.
So what is it about Baptiste that makes Samuel basically unplayable? Is it just the fact that he can't really move as much as he needs to?
Yeah, because
That's
the
exactly
Ordained
it.
locks him in that circle, and Samuel needs to go with his Drifting Dark. On top of that, you have Lance that can root him in place and then displace him with Githian Wall to again lock him down, stun him, or push him out of his Drifting Dark. It's just a really strong combination to Samuel. And Lyra can't peel. Lyra isn't there to peel, just to put a Bulwark up, and that's it.
Yeah, with the Samuel and the Baptiste, that's 4 different options that TSM will have to stop Samuel from being able to stay in his Drifting Dark. You're not going to have 4 reflex blocks available to you at all times.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to avoid them. Very, very quickly, I want your predictions going into this one. We've got to get onto the map.
TSM hands down.
TSM.
All right, we've got a TSM desk here. Before we go into this one, we want to know who you guys are voting for as well. Hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter. Join the conversation. Let us know if you're a TSM or a Gankstars fan as we head on into our final.
We are onto the fold. TSM versus Gankstars could have been at the Unified Championships, with Gankstars wanting to prove in week number 1 that they are the best team in North America. TSM, though, AJ, I'm looking at their team, I'm going, how did Von C get the Baptiste?
I've got to agree with that question. It does surprise me a little bit. Gankstars have made this play a couple of times already, moving in as 3 to go for the early invade. They do have a better level 1 than Team Solo Mid with this composition, so I'm not surprised at all that they feel like they can push them around a little bit. It's going to mean that Von C has to safely take his backs, and Best Chuck moves up to the lane straight away. Best Chuck, I think the smartest thing for him to do here is definitely not to push the wave, because he does not want it to be under their turret. After a strong rotate comes out of Gankstars, he can't push it quickly enough. You know, this isn't, for example, Garth. Von C, if he can get this steal, that'd be awesome for him. It would really bring him back to equity with the enemy jungle. It's not going to happen, though.
He throws out the Mojo, goes a little bit wide. Vial of Mojo wasn't quite big enough, so he's just going to saunter on back to his backs, actually deciding to go up towards the lane now, possibly. Like you said, Best Chuck not pushing that wave in was quite important. Don't want it frozen underneath that turret for Araki Zoro to just soak all the experience and farm, but it's looking like it's just going to happen. At least it will actually go into the turret, making sure it's a little bit harder for Araki Zoro. But hey, Araki Zoro is also on this Kestrel as well. Only died once out of those in that best of 2 versus Tempo Storm, and he's looking mighty deadly with it thus far.
He is indeed. Xenotech, though, I want to talk about Samuel real quick, because back last season, this was a pick that was really scary when he locked it in. We'll have to see if he can make it work as effectively this time around. I do think that it is possible for Xenotech to have a strong game here. It's all about playing outside of the range that Von C can really operate best in. If they fight too close to the Von C and to the Lance, it's not going to work so well. But if they decide to focus on poke and use Araki Zoro and Samuel from a distance, maybe things go well here for Gankstars in the team fight.
I mean, that poke potential from them is all too apparent when you've got the Samuel. When he does get farmed up, and making sure they can just siege the turrets is going to be fairly important for them. But there's a lot of engage. We've seen what Von Z can do already. This Baptiste, clearly something he's been working on throughout this small break between now and obviously the Unified Championships. It's just working out wonders for him. Just farming up a treat right now. It's 11 CS to Xenotech 16. Obviously, Xenotech did take the front control and did take the Elder Treat in the early stage of the game, so that's where that small lead has been acquired from. But Best Chuck has got a tiny CS lead over Araki Zoro there. So evening out just a little bit across the board at this current moment in time. And it's all about that first initial gank as well, because we've seen Von C, he can really just get the ball rolling as soon as he does make a flank player happen.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm curious to see how quickly Team Solo Mid puts the pedal down here, because they certainly have a composition that can really spike around the Shattered Glass that Von C will likely pick up. But they've got to be very wary of Iraqi Zora with perhaps like a Sarblade or a Tension Bow, and Xenotech picking up a Frostburn. Those are also very strong spikes. I do think that the later this game goes, the better situated Gankstars are in general, though. So the ball is really in TSM's court. They do need to be proactive, and I like, as a result, the Poison Shiv pickup coming in from Best Chuck. Not only is it good against the sustain from Samuel and Lyra, but it's also a cheap item that gives him an earlier power spike than many others would, and it's great on this update.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a little bit of sustain in there for himself as well. He has got a little bit of life steals. So that will help him with Iraqi Zoro's consistent Glimmer Shot harass. 2 fountains being picked up. One on Veins, one on Flash X now. So maybe looking forward towards a fight here. 3 points in bad mojo as well. That Shatter Glass is going to be on the horizon for him. He's got the 2 components, just waiting for that 1300 gold to finish that one off. Let's check on A though, taking a fair bit of poke damage. Here comes the Drifting Dart from Xenotech, but Flash X is going to be there just to impale him. He's going to take a fair bit of damage from it though, but as long as Best Chuck's safe, that's all he really cares about.
And Von C finding a nice opportunity to wander in there and steal away a front camp. You can see slowly gold going the way of Team Solo Mid in terms of the advantage there. I like they're making plays whenever Gankstars moves on the map, and some of it I think is incidental. It's not intentional that they're finding these openings, but they're just there because of lucky timing from Team Solo Mid. But some of them are definitely intended, like, you know, Flash moving down and stunning up Iraqi Zora there. So they are edging out small advantages all over the place. They are very small, but they do amount to something bigger over time.
That's all what it's about really at the end of the day. Just making sure you can snowball. That's what a snowball starts off with, AJ. I'll give you a little hint. It starts off with 1 snowflake and then tumbles ever so slowly down the proverbial hill that is this current game. Impale tried to land but didn't really find anybody. There's the Githian wall though. Ordain does come out. It's going to stop 3 people. That's going to be massive though. But hang on a second. Xenotech has arrived. First blood goes on to Best Chuck and A. Von C's running for the hills. Has to pop those boots as well, which is another big cooldown. Gankstars aren't done with him just yet. Bad mojo onto 3 people. Is he just going to get chased up and follow through here? Oblivion, no reflex block. You are dead. Here comes another kill for Gankstars. They're going to try and finish this Crystal Sentry as well. That first damage onto Best Chuck was absolutely sublime.
That active camo made the fight for Gankstars there and from Iraqi Zora, but here comes Best Chuck. He does want to find something off the back of that.
Oh, being very, very aggressive. Not even level 6. Down on Xenotech there. Iraqi Zora does pick up his Sorrow Blade, and the Shatter Glass has been finished from Von C, but Gankstars really coming up big in the early stages of the game. Can they push that small snowflake into the massive snowball that TSM so love doing?
You know, I gotta be honest with you, Jaws. I don't think I've ever made a snowball from 1 snowflake. I typically grab a few at the same time. I'm just not quite that skilled.
AJ. I'll give you that. They grabbed 2.
They did grab 2 snowflakes. Everyone is a special, unique snowflake, as my parents told me when I was younger. But, you know, Team Solo Mid, they're trying to make things happen. I got respect for that. It does not work when you walk into an active camo, though that is going to be really good at resetting a fight and actually swinging it in your favor if you're Gankstars. Right now, this has put Gankstars at a bit of a gold lead, about 1,000 ahead.
Yeah, that it does, but powerful spikes to all to play around. Tension Bow being finished from Best Chuck. Another fairly cheap item pickup for him. Finished 1 whole item above Iraqi Zora, just going on the cost, who's only got that Sorrow Blade. I say that, and he instantly picks up the Tension Bow, so prove me wrong. He hasn't got that kill, that extra goal from the assist as well, so there he's got that in his arsenal. But Frostburn has been finished from Xenotech as well, so again, power spikes for Gankstars, all but apparent now. So definitely looking forward to this fight. Von C is at the level 8, he's got the Fearsome Shade as well. We saw how much devastation he can cause with that in these team fights, especially in these small corridors. And mixed with Best Chuck's damage as well. It's very devastating. Impale on Veins. Ordain's going to come through as well. Githian Wall did have. Von C taking a lot of damage and goes down once more. Active camo trap was all too apparent. Here comes the Oblivion. Flash X is going to manage to block that one and walk away with his life. But once more, Iraqi Zora setting TSM up and knocking them down.
Very nice fight there. You saw Flash X trying to make a play happen, but Xenotech just had crazy turnaround potential. And honestly, Von C this is not the same quality of Batista that we saw from him earlier, I feel. He's not been able to position appropriately in many of these fights. It's not going so well for him. Samuel wants more here.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Xenotech just takes him off the face of the fold. The intake is going to get ordained though. It's going to use the block to get away from it. There comes the fearsome shade, but Beshchak on the run as well. Fanes is going to use that fountain to heal him up. One shot, one kill. Just goes a little bit wide. Beshchak wasn't to be found in that brush. Was all the smarter. Vonsi now fighting over this Elder Tree, and Crystal Sentry is going to be here to back him up, but that is going to go the way of Gankstars, and they will find themselves yet another kill.
You know, I was talking about Xenotech Samuel earlier on. Got to talk about it again. This guy is a monster. He is constantly in the right place at the right time. He's managing to land these max range Malice and Verdicts. I did not think that he was going to get the kill there. That's why I didn't throw over to you in time. You know, he really has been a very proactive member of Gankstars in this game, and it can be kind of difficult to find it within yourself to be so proactive and so aggressive into something like this Batiste that does have a lot of power early on here. Look at this as well. Xenotech moving perfectly into choke point. Right
place, right time. Flash X loses about 2/3 of his HP, but those bad mojos are really starting to stack up now. Shadowglass doing a whole lot of work. Oblivion going a little bit wide. Still going to get blocked though. Root does land onto Xenotech. Is going to back off. Flash X having to pop that fountain to keep himself alive. There's Chuck in the front line. Vonsi has to kite away as well. Those Malice and Verdicts are all too strong. Xenotech finds himself yet another kill. Vonsi so low. One shot, one kill. Does strike Chuck. Xenotech wants it. He finds it. Double kill for Xeno. Gankstars 6-0 against TSM. Can you believe it?
They are playing so well right now. They're looking for a turret here too, and Chuck's honestly got to be careful. There's no more minions though, so it's going to be Gankstars backing up just a little bit. Breaking down that fight that we just saw, I'm honestly surprised it didn't go better for Team Solo Mid, considering that the Fearsome Shade landed just as Crucible got popped and actually did fear the members of Gankstars. It shows you just how far ahead Gankstars actually are in these fights right now. Another big part of that, though, is the fact that there's a lot of redundancy in the way that Team Solo Mid is playing that's actually not being very effective. Like, they're getting a great Crucible down in time to stop an Oblivion, but then they're also walking out. So if they could walk out, they should have, and then save Crucible for something else, right? Like, that kind of small edge that you can have in a fight matters a lot. Big burst damage coming out of Iraqi Zoro. Team Solo Mid did find a turret, though, so things not as one-sided as they could have been, although Gankstars might counterpush here.
Yep. 2k in the lead in terms of gold. Nice impaled. Nice Githian wall as well. I'm just going to kind of walk away from this one, but still doing a lot of damage to Flash X. That turret almost going down. Here comes the Fearsome Shade. It's going to get blocked. Oblivion comes out. Goes a little bit wide. Vonsi using those boots to propel himself away from that fight. Nice triple root here. Beshchuk, this is their time. Githian more to two people. Vonsi with those bad mojos is going to help Beshchuk find one kill.
Nice
on the run. Vanes as well. He gets rooted up. Double kill for Beshchuk. And now Vanes, the last member alive. The Gankstars is going to get chased underneath this turret. He isn't going to let Flash X find the kill though, but now TSM finally turning this one around from a team that can snowball well. My God, they can snowball the other way as well. Wait, no, they can't snowball two ways. That doesn't work like that. Snowballs can't roll two ways at once.
If you were in a half
they're
pipe,
trying to find their way back into the game.
you could definitely go back and forth, roll back and forth up and down the half pipe. But anyway,
could, yeah.
You know, Gankstars, I think they bit off a little bit much there, to be honest. Oh man, that was supposed to be in a steal, actually. Yeah, so I think Gankstars, they bit off a little bit much. They really wanted the turret. They didn't play it as, you know, methodically and slowly as perhaps they should have done. The thing you got to remember here, if you're Gankstars, you're playing against Team Solo Mid. This is one of the best teams in the world. They had, you know, a surprisingly lackluster in terms of placing finish at the Unified Championship, but they did beat Cloud9, who actually won that tournament yesterday, so they're definitely a team to contend with. You cannot, you know, be too aggressive. You cannot go too deep just because you have a 6-kill lead. This has given TSM a window back into the game, especially with that gold mine pickup. The gold gap has closed a little bit.
Has indeed. Now we're already looking at 1,000 gold, or just about over for Gankstars. They're going to rotate down towards the shop now with TSM, just getting priority in that lane. One turret apiece as well for both these teams. So we don't see all too often, especially against teams like Cloud9 and TSM, and even Gankstars. As soon as they get ahead, they do not let that first tier turret in the lane go down for them. There's going to be a nice max range impale. Githian is going to be able to find Banes there. This is the time TSM want to fight. Oblivion's going to get blocked fairly easy. Vonsi sends out the Fearsome Shade. That is two going to get blocked. Nice scout trap there coming out for Rakizora, but it's not going to matter. Vonsi finds it with a bad mojo. Flash X almost going down. There comes the Crucible as well. I say the Fountain to heal him up, and Xenotech, last member alive for Gankstars, is going to have to go on the retreat here. Best Chuck is going to find him. He's just going to cut him down where he stands. Ace for TSM, and that's going to be a nice double for Best Chuck. They are definitely making their way back into this game. The gold is even up.
Really, really solid team fight there from Team Solo Mid. Big thing you got to take away from it, if you're looking at how they executed, was the fact that they used their crowd control really well. They staggered it. A lot of it did come down to the wire, though. Like, Vains got stunned early in that fight, I believe, from an Ordain right as he popped a reflex block, his Crucible, I think. So that's not the situation you want to be in. You also have to wonder if Vains really needed to use Crucible when he did, because it did mean that it wasn't available for something like Fearsome Shade, which reset the fight, gave Von C and Best Chuck time to reposition and get into the right spot to keep chasing onto Gankstars. Overall, though, Team Solo Mid, they gained a lot from that. This game really could go either way, Jaws.
Yeah, that it can. TSM with a bit of a lackluster start have made their way back into the game. 1,000 in the lead for them now. Not 1.5 minutes ago. The Gankstars with a 2k gold lead. One really turn it around. And speaking of resetting the fights, like you mentioned, that Fearsome Shade, absolutely incredible tool for doing so. Really just send the whole of Gankstars running. Now, talking about Gankstars running, TSM just walking up this lane as a unit in that vision denial as well. Going a little bit wide. Flash X taking a lot of damage. Tier 2 turret not being there, meaning Gankstars can't really do all too much to defend themselves, but that wall turret's being popped from Vains, looking to go for the engage and deciding against it.
All right, so I like the attempt there from Gankstars, but I think they needed to probably commit a little bit more quickly. You saw, as soon as Flash X realized what they're trying to do, he used his War Treads and got a decent amount of distance before Vains actually reacted and used his own.
Collected.
In addition to that, Xenotech blew his Drifting Dark a little bit too quickly, right? Like, he used it knowing that if Team Solo Mid wanted to disengage, they could. And as a result, you couldn't see the full engage from Gankstars because they wouldn't have had it available. It's a big, important part of team fights for them. Team Solo Mid playing very smartly there, knowing exactly how much they can stand to lose if they just misposition a little bit too much. Oh, Vains. Not where you want to be, man.
Nope. Flash X does miss the impale. Happy Feet is going to be able to dodge out the way. Now TSM, again, with prime control over this lane. Active camo trap sitting directly in the center for Araki Zoro. So they do engage on that one. TSM will be faced with that. 15 minutes on the clock, though. 2,000 gold for TSM. Kraken on the field. Infusions all around. Hasn't been popped yet from Von C. Wants to wait for the fight to actually be engaged. He's got the Broken Myth, he's got the Clockwork, and he's got the Shatterglass. He's doing a whole heap of damage, and that's only going to get worse. But you got to say it's going to rely on Flash X and Vains, both these captains, in order to actually kite and just make sure their carries are safe.
Yeah, honestly, it is a lot about the captains here for sure. You need to be making sure that the damage dealers on your opponent's team can't be positioned where they want to be. That's kind of the critical thing, at least for Flash X. Going for this Sentry, though, a little bit bold. You see how much damage they're taking.
Wow, Flash X taking a lot of damage. Fearsome Shade comes through. He's going to dissuade Araki. He's going to run in fear. Nice impale there onto Vains, but it's not going to matter. Vonsi just gets soloed out, and now Best Chuck is on the run. He's going to use that Sonic Zoom to get a little bit of distance between him and Gankstars. That beautiful pickup once more by Araki Zoro. Those camo traps and the Drifting Darks coming out of Xenotech are just so massive. The Kraken's going to get started up by them as well.
If that Oblivion didn't double sleep Team Solo Mid, they might be able to turn around that fight, but unfortunately for them, it did. Here comes an attempt to steal away the Kraken, though.
Yep, that Drifting Dark is going to find Flash X. Those Madison Verdicts really packing a punch. Best Chuck's got to be careful. Very, very low health bars right now. That Kraken is almost captured. Xenotech's going to have a bit of a field day, just kiting off 2 members of TSM. Kraken's going to get unleashed, and this time it's on the side of Gankstars.
All right, so Team Solo Mid, that was an uncharacteristic mistake to begin that exchange of things. You know, they went for the Crystal Sentry when they really could not afford to, and frankly did not have vision in support of that attempt. As a result, Gankstars, great counter engage, absolutely amazing Oblivion from Xenotech, showing yet again why we constantly talk about a Samuel. Can Flash get a root here, though?
Can he find the route? No, he cannot actually get stunned up by Araki Zoro instead. Some Verdict, Drifting Dark over the wall. Flash X have to pop of the war treads there just to get out of the fight. Best Chuck in the front line now. Here comes the Oblivion. He is going to get bombed. They find one member already. Arakizora, the main damage dealer, down. Von C just continuing this fight. No impale for Flash X there. Von C still trying to find some meaningful damage on the regeneration from Xenotech and Veins is just all too much for him to handle. They're going to have to turn their sights on that Kraken, who's already taken one turret.
You know, I missed why it happened, but not everyone from Gankstars was where they needed to be at the beginning of that fight. Not a great position. Xenotech actually getting knocked back in here and sort of a little bit overly aggressive from Flash. I feel like his team is not going to back him up here when the Kraken can probably get killed before the turret dies. I like the fact that they went for that decision in the end. Overall, though, Gankstars, I mean, they damaged their own ability to make something happen with that Kraken push by just going a little bit too aggressive before they were ready. You know, they needed to spend some time getting situated in advance of that Kraken push.
Yeah, the situational play coming out from Xenotech, playing a little bit too far forward, you could say, trying to set up those active camo traps. Cost him his life, but the Kraken taking at least one of those turrets and damaging the other one to about half HP. All well and good for Gankstars. As soon as they crack that base, it becomes very, very hard for TSM to have control of their own jungle. Now, sitting in the lead still in terms of gold, 2,000 in the pockets of TSM. Gankstars. Can Gankstars close this one out? Can they methodically just pick the fights they need to pick? Fight the fights they need to fight, AJ? That's the main question. Can they pick off Best Chuck in the back line? Von C needs to go down first. That's all I got to say.
They've got the tools for it. They've got a lot of crowd control. Infusion actually picked up here on Arakizora. They probably want to go for a fight sometime soon.
Exactly that. Both teams kind of posturing for it, waiting for Flash X and Veins maybe to make a play. The other team can kind of react to it. A lot of that vision is getting cleared out by TSM as well, so Gankstars won't have all the vision in the world. Von C actually taking a fair bit of damage from those scout traps and the Madison verdicts. Nice roost from Flash X here. Right bulwark to start them all up, but here comes the Vision Shade. It's going to get completely blocked once more, but Best Chuck and A just running running Veins down even. Here comes another Impale, does manage to land. Arakizora in a lot of trouble. He goes down, first casualty of war. Veins is going to take a bad mojo to the face. 1v1 situation down the bottom side. Best Chuck and A manages to get the ace on to Xenotech, and this is going to be good for TSM. And now this game is just so close. 20 minutes, the Kraken only just spawned. You can say it's calculated. TSM are going to take it and probably just crack Gankstars base wide open.
That was a really amazingly executed team fight from Team Solomid. I'm almost wondering if that's going to be the team fight of the week from Humanist, just because of how well they played their composition. You saw the initiation actually come in from Flash. He gets the root onto Veins, which sort of encourages Gankstars to back away. Now Best Chuck and Von C both move forwards, but the first thing that fires off is wait for it, because you don't want to crucible that. Ideally, you just want to dodge the follow-up, right? Because in that situation, you're running away. It's not like you're trying to fight and silencing is going to break you there. You know, you just want to be able to run away. But the problem is, Von C follows up with a Fearsome Shade, right? And when that happens and you're silenced, you can't crucible it. You're not moving quickly enough to get out of there. And when that lands, everyone can just pile on top of Gankstars from Team Solomid, get some kills. Now Kraken's pushing down the base. Team Solomid look really good here, Jaws. They've managed to come back into this game. They've got a stranglehold on it now.
Yeah, they do. I mean, both these teams are very, very good at kind of getting a chokehold on their enemies and just slowly and surely, methodically take down their base. Flash X off to the side here. He's been spotted out. Obviously taking a fair bit of damage from those Madison verdicts, but target is going to be that Kraken. And now TSM possibly looking for a play here. Nice route on Xenotech. This could be their time to shine, but Von C doesn't really do all too much and goes down instantly. Oblivion's going to come out. It's going to protect Arakizora in this fight. Double kill, in fact, for Araki. And now Flash X is the last member alive for TSM. He's going to have to back off now as that Kraken is going to be the target for Gankstars.
That was a rough fight for Team Solomid. I think, you know, I understand what the plan was. They were trying to get that kill, and, you know, it makes sense to do that to an extent. But when Von C was that low out on the sideline, Flash X kind of needs to back him up. You can't just, you know, impale onto Arakizora when Xenotech's on your flank and not expect Von C to get blown up. He does not have, you know, sort of an evasive maneuver on his kit. He does not have any kind of gap closer that can get him out of the way of those Malice and Verdicts. It chunked him out way too hard, and when it was a 2 versus 3, there's no way Team Solomid's ever going to win that. So Gankstars, they do get a brief reprieve from the pressure coming out of Team Solomid. They lost 2 turrets as a result, though. So it's a bit of a even trade probably overall. Gankstars probably have the better feeling coming out of it, though.
I mean, it only takes one team fight now for TSM to just take the game. At this point, 22 minutes in, it's very, very easy. A turret solo, or at least duo with maybe your captain or whoever's left alive on your team after the team fight. Now it's all in the hands of Gankstars. Can they make the proactive play onto TSM? Can they take this first win in this best of 3? The question on everybody's lips right now, AJ. Von C, he's a critical mass. Broken Myth. He's got the Shadow Glass. He's had that for a long time though, that trio of items. But it's not even that that's doing the work for his team. It's the Fearsome Shade and the Ordain really just hammering it home to Gankstars.
I'd really like to see Von C pick up tier 3 boots. A lot of these fights, he's trying to be on the front line with Flash and really engage these fights, but currently he can't keep up to the disengage and kite potential coming out of Gankstars. Obviously Flash's War Treads help, but he needs his own tool there. Oh, what a route!
Oh, what a route, what a silence. They're going to follow this up with a Fearsome Shade. It's going to get blocked. I believe it's going to go a little bit wide as well. It's going to get blocked by Von C. Vestchuk in the front line here. Xenotech gets impaled once more. FlashX looking for this Githian wall, but Vestchuk's fairly low. Same with Xenotech and Araki Zero. Fountains from both sides do heal them up. Here comes the route onto 2 people once more. FlashX disengaging. Crucible to save his own life. And now TSM and Gankstars looking free. The health bars fade. FlashX is going to be able to get that recall off, go back to base, collect your health back. That one-shot, one-kill, almost assassinating Von C, and that could have been the game-winning play there for Gankstars, but not enough damage on Araki Zoro. Won't end the game just yet.
I could not have asked for a more perfect example of why Von C needs to upgrade his boots. He was not doing anything the vast majority of that fight. FlashX and Bestchuck basically did that entire exchange by themselves. Here comes the Kraken play, though. Flash needs to make something happen.
Yeah, that he does, and Bestchuck's going to be there to back him up as well. Fearsome Shade once more, just going a little bit wide, missing a touch. And that will be Gankstars taking away that Kraken. TSM now on the back foot. They need to be able to just disengage from Gankstars because their follow-up is immense. Passageway still available from Veins as well if he wants to make some crazy passageway into the Bright Bulwark and engage. But TSM just disengaging and respecting Gankstars and their engagement potential and the burst damage as well coming out from Xenotech and Araki.
So close. TSM came so close to stealing away that Kraken. It's really rough that they didn't. Biggest misplay there, honestly, Von C using Fearful Shade the way that he did was way too far in advance of the fight. It basically just did some damage to Kraken and that was it. And that's normally not going to be an ability that steals for you. Flash is on the flank here, though.
Flash is on the flank. That rhymes. You didn't even know it, AJ, but it does. Von C is going to get locked up here if he's not careful. Fearsome Shade comes out. Nice route onto Araki. Araki's in the front line now. Now in a 1v2 situation, he ends up going down. Turret is going to get destroyed as well by the Kraken. That portal is going to get followed through by Veins, but the rest of TSM are going to follow him up for the double kill. That Kraken at half HP, but that's all good and well for Gankstars. Giving up 2 members there at this point in the game may look bad, AJ, but that Kraken has opened up the base for Gankstars.
It has. It's kind of a mirror of what we just saw. You know, right there, if the Crucible had actually blocked Fearsome Shade, pretty sure that fight goes the other way. But Von C somehow just barely lands it, even though the shields looked like they were on from Veins. That made all the difference in the world to let them really pile on, and there were no more reflex blocks or Crucibles to block the, follow-up crowd control coming in from Flash X. With 20 seconds on the board, there's not a great deal that TSM are able to do as a result of that fight, except for maybe establish some vision if Flash concedes the flares to buy some scout traps.
They're just running towards Gankstars' base. I don't know, they can't end. 8 seconds, and Araki is up now as well. They are just going to take their Crystal Sentry, so that's going to be 1 less hurdle for TSM to jump over when they do want to get some vision down and find these fights in the jungle of Gankstars. Game's not over yet. We are 26 minutes in. Almost 27, AJ. There's 100k
really,
goals for both the teams.
It's a marathon game here, Jaws. Both these teams really being pushed to their limits. I would like to see more of this kind of play from TSM moving up, maybe get some flare down. But at the moment, I feel like they're looking to perhaps bait Gankstars into checking the back of their jungle. They find Xenotech here.
They're going to step on a scout trap, so Stars know where TSM are. Going to be an infusion board. Those bad mojos doing a fair bit of damage. Impale goes a little bit wide. Bright Ball is going to come out as well. That beautiful Crucible blocking both Wait for it and Fearsome Shade. Flash X finds the choke. He doesn't find the kill though. That was a massive, massive stun. One shot, one kill is going to come through. Flash X is going to have to disengage from the fight, and now it's Bonsi and Best Chuck in a 1v3. Can they do it? Here comes Bonsi's damage, but Gankstars have got too much of it to boot. Araki Zoro, there's glimmer shots just raining through TSM, find 2 kills, and now Best Chuck is left alone with 3 members of Gankstars just running for his base.
That's game, I think, Jaws. There's no way that Best Chuck and A can 1 versus 3 this. It was a close fight, but it's just not going to be enough unless there's no response, unless they don't go on Chuck here.
Passageway and the Bright Bulwark are available. 1 turret is going to fall. Best Chuck just defending this with his life now. 2nd turret is going to fall as well. That Vein Crystal is all but open. Chuck just sustaining through this fight, but I don't think it's going to be enough. 12 seconds and 11 seconds on the board, on the clock for TSM, but it's not going to matter because Gankstars are going to take game number 1 in best of 3.
Incredible play out of Gankstars in that game, but overall a very close match between these two teams. Game 2 is going to bring, I'm sure, a really interesting one because the draft is critical to how these teams perform.
Bonsi didn't quite show up on his Batiste this game. We'll see if it's allowed through in game number 2. We do have 3 beautiful members over on the desk, though, to break that game down a little bit further. 28 minutes, that's got to be the longest one I've seen. But Joe, you guys can take it away now.
What an absolute treat of a game that was. Gankstars up against TSM, and Gankstars taking it to TSM as well, winning that one out in the end with some of the closest team fights we've had the joy of watching across the whole VG8 so far.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. The way that those team fights went down, it came down to just inches, milliseconds, whatever you want to, like, however close you want to get. That's how close some of those team fights were. Absolutely unbelievable play from both sides.
Yeah, and Xenotech on Samuel, amazing job at great positioning. Malice and Verdicts is drifting dark. Iraqi on Kestro, though, you definitely need to watch out because he is playing Kestro so well with that Weapon Power Baron build. It's giving so much basically anti-frontline dive composition here. You try to dive the Kestrel, and then boom, she's gonna basically blow you up. But that was an amazing route by Flash that turns the game into TSM's favor because they're down about 3K, 2K go here, and that was an amazing play by Flash X with that triple man route and triple man stun. And you can see later on in the game, they actually blocked the roots. Veins would block the fear, and then when Flash X tried to root either Xeno or Iraqi, they would actually use their reflex to block the root. So well played by both teams. I mean, this was a crazy intense back and forth game that definitely did not disappoint.
Yeah, lots and lots of, just the sheer number of fights in this game was one of the things that made it so great because it drew out quite a long time, was so even for so long. Got to see so many of these awesome fights, and once again this was one of the fights that TSM managed to win, but then beyond this, once we started to get past that, this is the final fight.
Big block. The big block from both members already happened at this point, unfortunately, but able to turn it around, and again, just the damage from Iraqi Zoro. And I love the build decisions that both of these carries made. At one point, Best Chuck sold his tension bow because there wasn't really any armor on the side of Gankstars, sold the tension bow, picked up a Sorrow Blade, and then towards the stretch, Iraqi Zoro bought a tension bow, or bought a bone saw, to go along with his tension bow. So he had 20% armor pierce before attacking because he saw how much armor was being built on the side of Team Solo Mid. So the counter building is absolutely impeccable from these teams.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I've got to say, there was so much nuance to this game. And, bear in mind, this is only game 1. We're going to be moving shortly into the draft for game 2. Now, going into that game, both of you agreed that TSM had the superior draft. Kind of what are we thinking going into this next draft? What did TSM have to change if they already won the draft last time? Yeah,
I think they need to understand how their comp engages against a Lyra composition. You need to lock someone down and blow them up. If you don't, you probably will lose that fight. Lyra excels if you can't kill someone right off the bat. She's going to heal them up, and then you're going to be down health. And I think with Kestrel, they need to... I feel like Flash could have gotten Metal Jacket, maybe not an Aegis, went for more cooldown, and flares have a contraption and flares, so when he flares once and they dive Kestrel again, he can flare again, because a lot of times Iraqi lived because he was under camel. When he was even rooted, he was still under camel. So a lot of times, that's what saved Iraqi, was that camel. Yeah, I mean, there's one instance towards the end of the game where TSM was pushing into the base. They got the root landed onto Samuel, and they went all in onto Samuel, completely forgot
about Iraqi Zoro on the Kestrel, and he got onto the backline, just deleted Von C in an instant. So we're going to be, again, getting into this draft pretty quickly. I would almost like to see Gankstars, well, they actually already have the Vox. I was going to say, maybe see if TSM would ban away the Kestrel from them, but obviously that's not going to happen. And because of the Vox pickup, I don't think it has to happen now.
Yeah, we'll see what they are going to opt to go for. Already biting into that bonus time. Obviously, Baron and Grumpjaw, kind of the standard bans as we stand. And Vox has been first picked a lot across the weekend.
Yeah, I think maybe they might start with either Arden or Lyra here, potentially, or pick Arden, ban Lyra. I think could be a draft that TSM could do here. Because, they're actually going to pick Lyra instead and maybe potentially ban out either Lance or Arden. And I see in terms of counters here, they can pick Idris, because I know Chuck plays a really solid Idris. There's a lot of options they can play here for sure.
Yeah, definitely still wide open with both bans and both double picks still available. Koshka going to be taken off the table, fearing Xenotech's aggressive junglers there, with both Koshka and Grumpjaw being banned away here. What are Gankstars likely to answer with?
I mean, I would still like to see them ban away the Baptiste, even though they were able to beat it. It's still such a strong pick for Von C. Just get him to play something else. Just get him on a different pick. Obviously, he's still going to end up on a comfort pick because just about every hero in the game is a comfort pick for Von C. But the Baptiste did still cause problems for Gankstars in that game at times.
Yeah, and Baptiste is very strong with Lyra because they're both kind of sustained type of heroes. So I think a smart ban would be that Baptiste. So let's see what Gangstar is going to do here. I mean, there's a lot of, there's Glaive that they can also ban too, because Glaive is very a good pick in terms of weapon lane or CP Glaive as well. That's always a big priority in terms of the second phase of the draft phase here. So let's see what Gankstars. I really think taking their time to think about this one ban here.
Yeah,
they're going to ban Sky, actually. And that's what they did last time. I guess they don't want Von C to play Sky into maybe Xenotech Samuel is what I'm guessing here.
Yeah, quite possibly going to be the case now. TSM, they've already used a lot of their own bonus time as well as they look towards this pick. This is a very important pick, one of the most important picks of the draft. They've got to find something that's going to bolster their composition, but also will do well into Vox and what they assume Gankstars is going to continue to play.
So, I mean, after that last game, you wonder, is there confidence? Are they going to go back to the Baptiste? Or is there maybe confidence shaken on a little bit? Oftentimes we've seen Team Solo Mid do things like that, where when they do end up losing a game, they swap up what they play it until it loses. And now they're going to go with the
Yeah,
Idris.
and that's the Idris that I called out
this
earlier. And that's a good pick. And I think right here, Gankstars can pick Baptiste into this along with Kath or Arden. Kath actually counters Idris very well and actually is good into Lyra, and Vanes actually plays a good Catherine. So let's see if they're going to do the Baptiste-Catherine combination, or even Baptiste-Lance would be pretty good too. So they're going to do Arden instead, and I think this could be Baptiste or Samuel. Let's see what Xenotech wants to run here. He may want to run Samuel because he's so good on that. So
yeah, he's certainly been showing his proficiency on Samuel. I'd love to see Gankstars pick up Baptiste here, just as we've seen how well Von C has been doing on Baptiste.
There
With
it is.
Gankstars to try and finish out the series with the Baptiste. That is a
CP
high pick.
Blackfeather, yep.
CP Blackfeather will be the answer. Gentlemen, what are our thoughts on the draft overall?
I think that they both have good drafts. It's going to be based on who's going to be able to play to the draft strengths. CP Blackfeather, like I said earlier and so many times, is actually good into Baptiste because he outpokes Baptiste and Vox. He can out of it if he gets ordained. And finally, someone has picked CP Blackfeather into Baptiste, so that's awesome.
We're assuming it's going to be CP Blackfeather.
It is, guaranteed.
There's a chance it could be a weapon Blackfeather with a CP Idris. I would love to see a CP Idris personally, but it's very, very likely to be the CP Blackfeather. But
all right. So very quickly, predictions coming out. You guys, start with you, Bacon.
I'm going to go with TSM again.
TSM?
Gangstar played really well, and I think I'm going to give this one to Gangstars.
Really, 2-0 Gankstars. So Sweejay will have to wait and see. This is Gankstars' opportunity to prove that they can be one of the top 2 teams in North America. Get involved on social media. We want to see you guys tweeting using that hashtag Vainglory8. But let's head into the second game of our North American final as we pass it over to our casters.
Thank you very much, guys. This could very well be the final game. Gankstars 1-0 right now against TSM, once disputed as the best team in North America. And now Xenotech has his hands on this Batiste. Can he pull off what Von C has been doing all night?
Can he pull off a similar performance to what he did earlier on today, too? He had a very strong performance on it during the semifinals. I'm excited to see if he brings a similar level here. It is very, very strong right now, so I would not be surprised by that. Definitely want to mention the interesting pickup of Idris here. It's not something that is seen super frequently, but it is showing up more and more as we move deeper into the lifespan of 2.5. Gotta wonder if teams are slowly just learning the hero, because obviously he did come out, you know, not a super long time ago. There's still an opportunity for them to really have to dive in and practice it. He's a very mechanically intensive hero, that's for sure. You know, you do need to put a lot of hours in to have that same level of success, I think, with an Idris that you do on other heroes.
Yeah, I believe Bacon was saying it's probably got one of the highest, or at least, you know, top couple highest skill ceilings in the game in terms of heroes. I mean, just having that, being a melee laner as well is very tough against someone like a Raki Zoro going to be on this Vox. Lane engagement did happen down there, but, you know, Vox just... Von C, even not Vox. Vox is up in the lane at the moment. Von C just kind of, you know, taking a little chunk out of Xenotech. Xenotech actually had to recall there at this moment. So TSM just getting a little bit more information and just using themselves as a scouting tool. So they're just going to be able to rotate towards the lane now. Xenotech, you know, he's going to have a little bit of a slow start, but hey, if he can land some nice ordains, it's going to be very, very hard for Best Chuck to actually make anything work. Speaking of making things work, First Blood goes over to Von C.
Yeah, Vayne didn't quite get that Vanguard in quickly enough. Honestly, this is, you know, we've talked about Game of Inches before. Man, that fight earlier on, Xenotech actually missed a bad mojo. Probably could have been the difference between him being able to be the aggressor onto Von C, moving towards the end of that fight. As a result of that, Team Solo Mid had priority on the Gankstars jungle and had an easy path up to the lane in order to go for the gank onto a Raki Zoro. So that skill shot miss by Xenotech actually mattered more than you might think, as just a, you know, missed ability at level 2. Very strong stuff from Team Solo Mid, though, showing a presence of mind, knowing that they had that opportunity.
Yeah, and with that kill onto Von C as well, it's going to enable him to have that quadruple crystal bit. That's a pretty nice little power spike for him. It's going to enable his clearing oh so much more. The intake is going to be here with Veins, though. Ordain is going to come down. Stun does come through onto Best Chuck, but real follow-up there. Araki Zoro and Veins, not with too much damage under their belt thus far. So it's going to be very, very hard for them to actually follow up and see it. Speaking of follow-up, Zoro once more gets jumped upon by Von C, and he's just going to back off and happy with just the resources trade there, him chugging a potion.
I'm pretty curious to see how Xenotech plays this game. As you heard our analyst mention, Batiste is a struggle into Idris and the Black Feather sometimes. There's a lot of ways for those heroes to deal with Ordained quite effectively. You can kind of just jump around inside of it if you want to, but you can also use both of their ultimates to get on the other side of that wall. It means that it's difficult for Xenotech to find a good target, or at the very least, you know, he is going to have to just be happy with all he achieves in some of these fights is forcing the use of abilities that maybe TSM would rather use for other things. See what happens though, as Xenotech going for this Elder Treant. Be nice if he could pick it up.
It would be very, very nice for Gankstars if they can. And Von C is going to be here. Just gets a little bit too late on the rotation, so did see that one go down, and Xenotech appearing out of the brush with Veins as well to boot. Now back to the lane. It's going to be very, very methodical now play from Gankstars, just clearing out that wave. Xenotech's probably going to back here, look for his next item upgrade with 1400 in his pocket. Jungle intensifies, and TSM do rotate down and get their fountain, as well as a fountain on the side of Veins as well.
Really nice decision to back as a team there. I like that none of them were greedy and, you know, stayed for lane farm or went down to the jungle shop. They knew that TSM had a priority moving into the jungle on that. It's right when that shop spawns, so they're pretty much guaranteed to go there if they want to keep pressure on, and Gankstars, as a result, have to back. They don't really have the option of contesting anything else. And staying in the lane is just going to mean that Araki Zoro is staggered in his item purchase against Best Chuck. He'd likely have had his lane shoved in quite a bit had he decided to stick around, despite being a little bit weaker in exchange. Here comes the Ordain, though.
Ordain again finding Best Chuck. Again, not too much is going to get followed up upon him. Flashback's taking a fair bit of damage though. He's going to use that sigil just to get out of there, get that small speed boost, save his own life, save his bacon, and he's going to be able to walk away now. Now Araki Zoro pushing in this wave. too much of a problem for him. And Xenotech just taking away those fronts, you know, taking as much gold away from TSM as he possibly can, just digging in that level 6 as well. So it's going to be pretty big on him. That Fearsome Shade has just been used to absolute perfection by Von C. And now it's Xenotech's time to show us how much he's been practicing this hero.
Fearsome Shade can be a very effective tool in these team fights. We'll have to see if he has the opportunity to use it soon, though. So far, Gankstars have definitely been setting a slower pace than in previous games. In fact, this is one of the first times we've seen them actually be at a deficit moving into the 6-minute mark today's games. They do have the opportunity in some of these late-game fights to do a lot of damage, though. They have a lot of crowd control, zone control abilities that could make it a little bit difficult for Team Solo Mid to find the fights they're looking for. It's all about making sure you start off in the right spot.
Well, the Ordained is going to come through. It's actually just going to get completely ignored. Von C stepping up, though, stepping up big, ends up falling to Araki. Chuckane taking a big bad mojo to the face, has to back off underneath his turret, and that'll be Gankstars finding another little kill here, or at least their first kill on the board. Sorry, TSM did manage to secure first blood. Von C, road defensive very aggressively, just sacrificing his own life. Has picked up that Shatter Glass though, so that's going to be a really nice power spike for him. Goldmine is going to get started up. Fearsome Shade once more is going to get used. Flash X is in the middle of it. Doesn't get stunned up. Here's Von C. Does use the defensive for the engagement, but with Flash X's health bar rather low. Same with Best Chucks now. All in Gankstars to make the next move.
And Bad Mojo just chunks so hard early on here, but Von C finds him.
Well, he finds them. The fountain is going to get popped on the side of Gankstars, so a lot of healing coming out from them. Bo, meanwhile, being picked up from Araki Zoro in that little kerfuffle. And they are just going to be able to back off now. TSM now going on the offensive.
Araki Zoro hits
fair bit of damage. Surgery is going to meet them. That's Chuck on a solo mission up near that Elder Treant. Oh, sorry, just the normal Treant is going to find himself just escaping rather handily.
I like that TSM backed off there. Araki Zoro, you saw actually several members of Gankstars trying to do camps as they retreated. It's because Araki Zoro was one minion of experience away from hitting level 6 and getting weight for it, which would have been brutal if, you know, for example, Von C had just been like, all right, guys, screw this, we're going to jump in, I'm going to rose offensive forward. Well, then he would have been followed up on by a silence, and things would have looked a lot worse for Team Solo Mid. So good presence of mind again. They're definitely a very cerebral team. They don't do things just instinctually. They think about it first. It's one of the things a lot of their fans really like about Team Solo Mid. Gankstars, on the other hand, they've been playing the map really well in the past couple of minutes, really forcing the hand of Team Solo Mid. Here we go again.
Speaking of forcing their hand, there comes another Ordained. Fearsome Shade as well. Here comes the silence. It's going to be pretty big. Gauntlet's going to lay down, and Araki Zoro just free hitting on the backline. Look at the members of TSM just disintegrate before your very eyes. That passageway not followed through there. I mean, if I were in a solo queue game, I'd have followed that one through because Von C was so close to going down. Same with Best Chuck. He ends up just recalling there to fill his health bar back up. TSM played that fight. You know, they gotta not fight Gankstars in a tight corridor because that is just what's going to happen. TSM, though, with that steal on the gold mine. So Flash X flowing in the sigil does manage to secure 291 gold for the rest of his team.
Honestly, correct decision there, I think, from Team Solo Mid not to contest. Saw what happens if they don't have the right fight. It does go Gankstars' way right now as they've hit a few power spikes. Honestly, Von C, yes, he's doing some nice damage right now, but a little bit later on when he has some cooldown acceleration, some ability to scale up, maybe Evil Harvest too, that's when it really becomes super scary. Best Chuck as well, I think, will become more potent as we go on, rather than right now. So I like that Team Solo Mid's not forcing the issue. You know, they're not actually behind a gold. They're in fact ahead. That gold mine was not something they needed to risk. Good pickup here from Vanes going for that Atlas Pauldron. That's going to be huge if he can land it, especially on the Best Chuck.
And it's going to really hinder his ability to actually do a lot of damage to the back line. He's going to have to rely on that chakram. He's been throwing out consistently, just hitting Araki Zoro, enabling him just to make sure Araki can't make any devastating plays. Speaking of devastating plays, Ordained did come down, but Flash X is going to shrug that one off. He's going to be able to walk away. That poke coming out from Von C as well. All too apparent. Gankstars know their limits and playing this one very instinctually, I'd say, in all honesty. TSM very cerebral, but Gankstars instinctually playing this map out very well. Von C again. That is actually disgusting damage. Here comes the chakram, there comes another load of damage, and Gankstars now on the retreat.
Fountain is still available for Gankstars if they want to turn this one around, but they got to be careful. not to get taken down by a lot of the poke coming out of TSM. Vonsi and Bestchuck both have strong abilities for that. Here comes Xenotech again.
Oh, Xenotech's going to come down, and here comes the Fearsome Shade. It's going to get, actually, Fizz, 2 people. Crucible only just wearing off there, as TSM do once more make their way back to their tier 1 turret. It's like TSM push, then Gankstars push. TSM push, Gankstars push. All too apparent. And right now, right at this very moment, you got to say TSM, it's in their onus to actually just push Gankstars here, because the regeneration coming out from Flash X is very, very hard to deal with for Gankstars.
This is honestly a war of attrition at this point, a bit of a tug of war. You know, both teams have...
Oh, the on point! Executes him. Flash X finding the kill with a basic attack. Wow. This is Vonsi at his finest, you got to say.
It really is. And, you know, I think Baptiste and the Crystal Power Blackfeather actually fill similar roles in a number of ways. Obviously, the crowd control is the big difference between the two. But one thing that they both have is very safe poke damage, right? Like, if Vonsi moves forward, he gets a shield based on the number of targets he's hitting with his on-point, and he wants to be hitting targets with that for the poke anyway, so it's safe poke, right? He can also disengage afterwards. Baptiste can move up, get that bad mojo down, he heals off of it, it keeps him relatively safe, and he also has Fearsome Shade to disengage if things go wrong. As a result, we're seeing these back and forth, you know, push and shove situations because both teams are doing the same thing. They're just taking turns doing it.
Oh, will TSM take their turn in this game? Will they take this to the full best of 3? That's the overarching question. Right now, Vonsi, broken myth finish for him. And those on points stacking up a whole load of damage. But you know who is stacking up damage? It's Araki Zoro, who's just completely killing Bestchuck on his own. Fearsome Shade did come out. He is going to get blocked again. But that cooldown is only about 40 seconds here, AJ. It's very, very easy for Xenotech to just kind of use them as whim.
Available.
Just every single time they go in for a team fight, just use it. You might as well. 23 seconds, it's almost off cooldown already.
I'm really surprised Flash backed into the mustache push there. He had Portal. I thought he was going to go for it, but they're not going to do it just yet. Nice use of Bulwark there to stop Vaynes from engaging.
Yeah, Bright Bulwark being thrown by Flash X. That ring is going to protect them from Vaynes' gauntlet. Wasn't able to actually get that one down. He was snared up, though. Oof. A lot of damage onto Araki. Vanguard's going to be there again for the sustain. It's going to be pretty nice for him. But once more, attrition is coming to about. The TSM are winning it.
They are. You know, the simple fact of the matter here is that TSM has multiple sources of poke, and they have not only sustain, but sustain at their discretion. It's not just Xenotech's inherent sustain. It's actually Lyra able to heal up members on his or her team. So this is a tough situation compositionally for Gankstars. They need to find some kind of a window to actually just commit to a fight, but that's very difficult with the amount of disengage on the side of Team Solo Mid. I think it's going to be somewhat down to Team Solo Mid biting off a bit too much and Gankstars capitalizing, or maybe going for the wrong kind of objective. Right? Like a turret is an objective that Team Solo Mid can take perhaps quite easily, you know, just by virtue of the strength of their composition. Something that they maybe could not do is like just start a fight randomly, or fight around a gold miner, because there's ways for them to get flanked. It depends on where they are on the map as to whether they're able to utilize the strength of their composition in full.
Yeah, you do not want to fight Gankstars in a close-knit situation. I mean, same with Vonsi. I mean, those on points do pierce their targets, so they do land on 3 members if they were all lined up nice and neatly. But Gankstars with that bad mojo, especially on Xenotech, that's sustain, and with Araki stacking up those resonance bounces as well, don't do all too much damage if he hasn't gone at full crystal power, but still, especially in a late game build, does a fair bit of work. Speaking of a fair bit of work, here comes the gauntlet. Fearsome Shade is going to come through again with the silence, but TSM just dodging out the way. 3 massive ultimates down now for Gankstars. This is TSM's fight to take.
It is. The swing back's beautiful here.
It's going to come forward to step into Vonsi, but now Flash X and Vaynes are just going to just tussle it out. And TSM are just running a muck double kill through for the Idris. Bestchuck finds the ace. Vonsi finds the last kill, and that'll be TSM. 5-1 on the board. That gold miner is next on the field, and that will be potentially another turret as well. And Gankstars' base being broken into.
Gankstars, I believe in this game, really have been punished for their draft quite substantially. Team Solo Mid knew not only what to pick, but just the right way of playing it, and they've actually taken 3 turrets now just ahead of Kraken spawning. A single Kraken push from Team Solo Mid, frankly, could end the game this time around if they do find it without taking too much damage.
Well, they do get that extra bit of gold from the gold mine, just stretching their gold lead to about 6,000 now. Kraken's been awakened. The whole of Gankstars are alive and well. How long will they be well for? That is the question. I mean, Idris is now pretty terrifying. Poison Ship, Sorrow Blade, Tension Bow, looking extremely devastating if he can get on the backline of Gankstars. And that backline being Araki Zoro. The mobility, but the burst damage coming out from Best Chuck is all too apparent.
I'd really like to see Xenotech have a little bit more trigger discipline on the Fearsome Shade. It is a critical ability, and frankly, I think they need to burn everything but that in their attempt to lock someone down and kill them. That's fine, but the Fearsome Shade itself needs to be saved for the re-engage. You know it's coming from Team Solid, it's how their comp works.
Yeah, that fight's going to come now when that gauntlet does get used by Veins. There
Beautiful.
comes the Fearsome Shade. That's a really big team fight for Gankstars. This going in time, going in their favor. Best Chuck and A, 1v3, gets stunned up, gets locked up, gets killed. And now Gankstars, they're going to take this Kraken straight off the fold. That is going to be in commanding, they're going to be in a commanding position now to now crack TSM's base. We said they don't want to fight in corridors, and that's exactly what TSM did.
It's not only that they don't want to fight in corridors, they don't want to fight until Gankstars has blown things, because Gankstars does have a lot of great counter-engage of their own, and that's one of the reasons why Team Solomid's been in a good position up until now. What's been happening is that Gankstars starts a fight, they use their counter-engage as an attempt at engagement, and as a result, Team Solomid has an easy time to saying, all right, we're going to back up whilst the Fearsome Shades come towards us, what have you, and then we're going to go back in with Portal, right, with Rose Offensive, with Blink out of Idris. However, if you start the fight, you're the one walking into the Fearsome Shade, and there's only so much you can crucify. You know, there's a gauntlet there as well. There's a wait for it coming out from Gankstars. Especially in a corridor too, like you were saying, Jaws. It's just not a good spot for Team Solomid to be fighting. They lose a Kraken and 2 turrets. Things could really start to swing the way of Gankstars if Team Solomid doesn't tighten their game up.
I mean, Gankstars have got all their tools back up in a couple of seconds. 15 seconds for Veins right now on that gauntlet. A big initiation tool. Xenotech taking a lot of damage from that on point. And Chakram as well is going to make sure that Kraken is going to be not long for this world. But you got to say they're going to want to engage. That Kraken actually not taking down this turret whatsoever. Gankstars going to look for something here, or are they just going to let TSM kill the Kraken? The answer is that Kraken's just going to fall. No real answer from Gankstars here. So that's only 1 turret. You said 2, but it was only 1. AJ,
well, this
doesn't normally happen. A Kraken normally does take at least 1 extra turret for them.
They had taken down 2 prior to that. Here comes the engage, though.
Fearsome Shade, Gauntlet as well. There's the wait for it. The silence is there. Flash X in the front line. Gets stunned up. He's going to fall. Now on point, just rattling through the members of Gankstars. Bonsi just going for this re-engage. Rose offensive onto the back line, but he just gets taken out 1-2 step far forward. And Araki finds one. He finds another. And that will be at least 1 traded as Xenotech does fall as well. That Crystal Sentry doing his hardest just to try and make sure Gankstars win that fight. Or TSM win that fight, but it wasn't enough. Gankstars, they end up coming out on top.
Team Solomid are getting impatient here, Jaws. You know, you saw Crucible actually block every single big ultimate on the side of Gankstars. And, you know, it was amazing. It was really beautiful by Flash X. But the re-engage was before enough poke had come down, right? Like, no one was weak enough that Bonsi could just walk in and snipe someone. That wasn't going to happen. They relied on Best Chuck doing a bunch of auto-attacking before anyone even came close. Bonsi jumps in instead of just waiting and, you know, getting a few on points prior to fully committing on that fight. And as a result, he gets blown up, right? Like, he doesn't have the shield available. He's already burned the Rose Offensive to get into the fray. It's not a good look for him. So Gankstars, this is 2 fights in a row. They've really been able to capitalize on Team Solomid just not playing to their comp's strengths, maybe getting a little bit too audacious given their early game performance.
Quickly look over the builds. And speaking of audacious, Bonsi has got 2 broken myths.
I knew you were going to touch on that one. Honestly, yeah. I don't mind it. You know, it's a lot of Pierce. And to be honest, right now, that's what they need, given the fact that there's an Aegis on every single member of Gankstars. He needs to be doing good damage with his poke, or Team Solomid won't win the fight. The thing that's just strange and kind of interesting is that, you know, he knows that he needs that for that reason, yet he's still going in a little bit too early some of these times. He needs to play to the build path that he's gone for here. If he had Eve of Harvest, you can make a bigger argument for him perhaps using the jump across everyone and trying to get into the thick of things, because he can perhaps sustain through some of that damage. This is much more poke-oriented as a build path from Bonsi.
We are 20 minutes into the game. Baines uses the gauntlet to not too much effect. Von C was able to Rhodes offensive out of it. The next Kraken will probably decide it. As Chuck just dashing forwards, using that chakram to try and find Xenotech. The TSM now start up this Kraken. In fact, they are just going to disengage instantly as soon as I say that. Probably the wisest move at this moment. Now they're going to re-engage.
Yeah, I think they might have spotted with a scout trap or a flare the recall coming in. Gankstars made a huge bake, giving up pressure on this. I don't see any way he gets it. Yeah, that was really bad news for Gankstars.
Really was. That Kraken is going to get taken by TSM.
Yeah, Fearsome Shade got burned to cover Vayne's retreat, even though he was pretty much out of there. The only thing which is really scary is if Flash X used Arcane Passage. So, you know, again, big window of opportunity here for Team Solo Mid. This is only 2 turrets left on the side of Gankstars. A Kraken push could be huge here.
Yeah, that they are. The Kraken is going to march down the lane now. Only 2 turrets between them during their second game.
Solo Mid moving up the map here. I like that Von C is leading point, just trying to get that poke down before the fight happens. It does mean that Xenotech has to back to the Sanctuary, can't just lay down bad mojos on the Kraken as it moves in. This isn't the best Kraken killing team from Gankstars compositionally, so they do need to be careful about dealing some damage to it as well as attacking Team Solo Mid.
Well, they're going to go for the engage here. War Treads are going to be used. Fearsome Shade comes out as well. There comes the gauntlet from Vaines. Wow, it's going to be really big. This is it. This could be the final fight. Flash X almost going down instantly. Passageway away, and he's going to fall. The Kraken still knocking on the base of Gankstars here. Best Chakane trying to sprint away. Gankstars still chasing him. Very, very low HP. You can imagine they're just going to take him out. Crystal Sentry following up him as well. Fall, but still having to deal with that Kraken in the base is going to be absolutely massive for Gankstars.
It really is. I don't think they can stop it from taking this turret, and that actually puts them at backdoor risk against a Lyra, Blackfeather, and Idris. Every single hero on that lineup has a way of crossing the threshold of the base, through the wall and getting on top of the Vayne Crystal. Really minimizes the amount of options Gankstars has at any time. They basically need to win entirely, an entire fight in order to actually do anything here.
Final fight. The final 5 minutes, AJ. It's all coming down to this. The next team fight will secure TSM the win.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult for Team Solo Mid to do anything to get around the edge, though, if Gankstars gets vision properly, and that's what they need to do. If Gankstars does not get enough scout traps down, though, it could be a really surprising finish to this game with a backdoor attempt. We'll see. Find that window. For the moment, at least, Team Solo Mid playing this smartly, back in their base, taking their time before they actually go in here. I like that they're not being too bold and just running in straight away. At least they weren't until maybe now. They do have the option of just kind of pressuring this lane very, very aggressively, running close to the base, and forcing the recalls out of Gankstars. You can see Vayne's thinking about it right now. But there is a scout trap. Oh man, Gankstars, they honestly might see TSM coming in here. Team Solo Mid needs to be really careful not to get chunked out.
War Treads are going to get popped. Fearsome Shade still available. They are just going to use their War Treads as well. Fearsome Shade turning up 2 people. There comes the Gauntlet. Oh my god, the massive silence does come out from Arakizoro, still fighting back. Xenotech does end up falling. Best Chakane going fairly low. Arakizoro needs to be able to find this kill to even this trade up. Gankstars 2v3 situation. Now Xenotech being down just leads TSM to go towards this Kraken.
Team Solo Mid honestly might be able to push off the back of that death from Xenotech. It's so hard for Gankstars to kill Kraken quickly that if they take this, Team Solo Mid is pretty much a guaranteed win. But now they're actually just going into the base. They don't want to wait for that. There's no turret to help the respawn timer of Xenotech. Only 2 members to defend. It is all or nothing right now for Gankstars. As Team Solo Mid, they walk onto the Vayne Crystal. I think this is it, Jaws. Gankstars are going to be forced to a game 3.
Game number 3, TSM. Just showing Gankstars the way the game.
All right, so very convincing stuff from Team Solo Mid in the next game. All of these matches have been very close, though, and it definitely is an exciting series. Heading into game number 3, I'm looking forward to seeing, what is going to be brought to the table in terms of the draft, but also just in terms of the play from these teams. I think we're going to be throwing it back over to the desk now to get some analysis from our guys at the studio.
Thank you very much, guys. What a game that was. Definitely, I think it's fair to say, a comeback from TSM. I thought Gankstars were going to be able to take that one, but then a couple of miracle team fights and one of the quickest Krakens I've ever seen taken.
Well, I mean, it was a comeback from Gankstars first. TSM got off to a very strong start. Gankstars were able to minimize the damage and then come back and get themselves a lead. But then, like you mentioned, Munch, definitely able for TSM to find a couple fights down the stretch that they absolutely needed in order to extend the series into a decisive game number 3.
Yeah, they played their poke and heal comp really well, and CP Blackfeather, outranges both Baptiste and Vox, and Vontae just poked a lot. Where he did make a mistake was when he would go in when he had like no defense, and I felt like he should have bought a little more defense. And also on both sides, the fountain too. So Vayne's missed a few fountains or late fountains. Flash X also didn't fountain, had late fountains. That was a critical part in a lot of these team fights that didn't go for Gankstars or TSM's way, but TSM ultimately secured this win there with their plays, and this is a good fight, very good gauntlet here by Gankstars. And then
Flash.
Flash gets isolated, he gets locked down, and then they get stunned, and then the Ordain catches Chuck here. Chuck jumps out and gets stunned by the Ordain, so really nice plays there from Gankstars, getting this ace and Kraken and turning the game around right there.
Yeah, and I mean, there was multiple times that the game was turned around. This was a huge fight for Gankstars, keeping them in this. But at the same time, the Kraken was pounding away at the turrets. And this was the moment that really set TSM up for the victory.
Yeah, this taking down the final turret with that Kraken ended up being kind of what sealed the deal there. They then got one additional kill in a trade later on, and were able to, because there was no turret left, just jump on over the wall and finish off the game with the 2v3 situation. So Team Sulamit, again, both of these teams, I think, definitely impressing. Gankstars maybe impressing a bit more because we expect this sort of stuff from Team Sulamit, but I've been thoroughly impressed with Gankstars and the way that they've come into this week and the season and have absolutely been performing.
Yeah, Gankstars are, right now, in these games, they are at least on par with TSM, and this final game will be deciding who is going to be able to kind of take that edge. But honestly, like, I think a lot of people coming into this series were expecting TSM to be a sort of clear favorite, honestly, but Gankstars, I feel like they have shunned that expectation at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know if they're in the team house yet together here in LA, but they've shown that great communication, great shot calling, and that synergy between all three of those members is really paying off. And for them to hold a candle this well against TSM in both games really showcases like how strong this roster not only is now but can be in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's start to look towards this final draft of not only the day, but the entire week for Vainglory8. What are we thinking for both teams? Because this has been exceptionally close. Are they going to be changing drafts at all, or do we have the same kind of priority on the same picks here?
Yeah, I think it comes down to draft. If you see like a team that at this caliber, like Cloud9, right, TSM Hammers and Gankstars, if they win the draft, they normally will win the game for the most part, unless they just throw. So I think it really comes down to how this draft is going to play out for sure.
Yeah, I think we're still going to be seeing the priority on Baron and Grumpjaw, and there's going to be the Grumpjaw. Highly expect a Baron ban to come out, or that one is. So now we'll see, where does TSM want to go with this? This is where these teams can start to try and shake it up just a touch. It's going to be the Vox as the first pick, so kind of sticking to the formula for now.
Yeah, what is it about the Vox that makes it such a safe first pick in these games?
Because after Baron in 2.5, Vox is like the second best weapon power carry in the game right now, and that's why Vox is so popular. If you look at 2.6, he will not be picked as much because he got nerfed due to his rise there. So Gankstars going to do the same draft they did in game 1 and go ahead and pick up that Kestrel. So let's see if TSM is going to change up their draft here. Gankstars did ban Sky game 1, so let's see if that Sky ban is going to come on again. Yep. And is TSM going to switch up their ban and draft here to counter this Kestrel?
That's going to be one of the questions. Gankstars actually banned Sky in game 2 as well, I believe, even though they were on the other side of the draft, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll see if they are going to go for that ban once more, and then what TSM will react with. I fully expect both of these teams to be taking a good amount of their bonus time within these drafts. There's a lot riding on this one. Lyra going to be taken away there by TSM. That means Adagio, the only healing captain remaining in this draft.
Yeah, we'll see if they do decide to go for it. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to be strong enough to warrant a pick here. I think there's just a lot of other options. You know, the Arden and the Lance both still being available will likely have the priority. That's going to be the Arden there. I expect TSM to end up running with either Lance or maybe something like a Fortress, but that would be an extremely risky one.
All right, we'll see what else they are going to go with. Obviously, Fortress is available, but let's see what the rest of the picks are going to be first as TSM. Timing down. They can finish out that composition.
I think Koshka Fortress would be really good, but yeah, they're going to go with Baptiste again, and potentially I would like to see Catherine here over Lance. You know, Lance is really good. I think Catherine is really good into Kestrel with her shield. It's going to reflect all that damage from the arrows. She can tank it all easily. So I think Catherine may be a good play here. Or if they want, even Finn, because Finn is so tanky. He can run in there and not get stunned by Kestrel and then quibble her. So potentially it could be Lance, Catherine, Finn, but I would like to see Cath or Finn here. But I think they're going to pick Lance. Let's see.
We'll have to see how they are going to finish out this composition. Over on the side of Gankstars then, once this final pick is locked in, what do you anticipate to go alongside the Kestrel and the Ardens, Vijay?
I mean, they're going to want to get some way to get onto the Kestrel. As we saw in game number 1, that was one of their big issues, was not being able to actually close that gap. And so, I feel like the Lance may end up being what comes out again, because the Lance was able to set up quite a few plays for them. There it is, going to be the Lance. So they're going to be basically just relying again on the Lance.
And this will be Samuel that from game 1. He played Samuel into this. So let's see if they're going to do the same draft here for Gankstars versus TSM in game 3.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
That'd be really bold from both teams.
Yeah.
You have TSM saying, okay, we feel like that was just a fluke and we can beat you with this exact same composition. And then Gankstars, if they pick up the Samuel, they're saying, we know that wasn't a fluke and we are going to beat you once again.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, we'll have to see. TSM definitely coming in confident to draft that exact same composition, saying, look, we may have misplayed that game. We want a second try, and we'll see how Gankstars are going to finish it out. It is going to be this Samuel, the actual rematch from game 1. Could it get more hype for this third and final game in this final? How are we feeling about the draft, gentlemen? Obviously, we've already talked about this draft once. The last time both of you went with TSM. Now that we've seen these two compositions play each other, do you feel differently about this?
Yeah, I think Arden is going to help Kestrel survive even further. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that's going to play out. And Iraqi is so solid on Kestrel. But I think TSM is going to learn from game 1, and they're going to probably take it home here for game 3.
I want to go with TSM. But, I mean, I'm always so big on the numbers, on the stats, and this is the exact same match we saw in game number 1. I think Gankstars are going to be able to execute it once more.
We'll have to see which one they are going to be. We want to see who you guys at home are voting for as well. Hashtag Vainglory8 is how you can get in touch with us on Twitter. Make sure to get involved in that conversation. But it's time to jump into the third and final match here of the weekend at the Vainglory8.
Thank you very much, Munch. And a little bit of a change up here in the final game of the day. It's going to be myself, Action Jackson, joined by Tasty Bacon. In fact, as my co-caster, we've got Team Solo Mid against Gankstars. It's game 3 of the finals.
Yeah, and this is going to be a great one. It's only 1 point on the line, but there is so much pride between these two teams that they are going to be fighting for. And right off the bat, we might be having a little bit of a skirmish, but it looks like not too much is going to come down from that.
Yeah, anytime you're fighting without any minions picking you up, as Vox into a Kestrel early on, Kestrel's going to chunk you up pretty nicely. See Best Chuck already happened to pop one of his 4 potions that he started with. I like the aggression out of Arakizora, trying to set the pace here.
Yeah, I also really like the 4 potion starts has kind of become the norm with the current changes that were made a few patches ago. It was going with that defensive item to help you just survive a little bit longer in lane. But
oh boy. Flash Axe, hang on a second, Bacon. He went a little bit deep there trying to steal away the camp, just missed it, and as a result, Xenotech turned on to him. Had Flash X got the camp, Xeno might not have hit 6, which would have been, sorry, 2, not 6, which would have been great for him, obviously. But Xenotech, as a result, can actually leverage that aggression, that pressure, to go for that Elder Treant. Vonsi does want to join in, though. He's trying to move forwards here. Got to be careful. He can't get onto Xenotech. and that's going to be Vainglory8 forced back as well. Xeno does have some good damage here. If you can just get a little bit closer, might have been able to finish up that kill. Can't quite do it, though.
Yeah, and FlashX is going to be able to just make sure that if he does try and go any further on, they're going to be able to stop this. But Best Chuck now rotating down as well.
Yeah, this is actually a bit of a dicey position for the members of Gankstars so far back here. Vainglory8's taking a lot of damage, though. Xenotech gets the first blood, and now actually see FlashX having to back away here, too. Chuck does not have items yet. It's hard for him to really compete with the damage out of Xenotech. They're not even calling Iraqi Zoro down. They just want to fight 2 versus 2, but that's a great Githian wall out of FlashX. Best Chuck, he wants to go in. One more Sonic Zoom would do it. Xenotech falls. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Can Flash find him? No, not quite. Vanes is able to escape. All the meanwhile, Iraqi Zoro farming up in the lane. Overall, just barely, I would say, in favor of Gankstars, that trade.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they got the first blood bonus from the kill onto Vainglory8, which I feel like that was maybe a little bit too aggressive from Vainglory8. They had the right idea of pulling everyone down and going for that 3v2 fight, but Vainglory8 was still so low, and he was the first one to re-engage into that situation. So it just was an easy kill, really, for the side of Gankstars to pick up and go over to Xenotech. Getting him that bonus gold is going to give him even more damage now, and this early game jungle battle is going to continue.
Yeah, I like the aggression we're seeing so early here. Both teams trying to make plays, and I think it's kind of suitable. I don't know if you agree with this, Bacon, but I feel like both Samuel and the Baptiste need to be aggressive early and kind of snowball a little bit. And it's whoever wins that exchange that really is going to be able to do well later on.
Yeah, definitely. They both want to kind of do the same sort of things. Be aggressive in the jungle, deny the opposing jungler a little bit, and then make these rotations up into the lane to try and find a pick onto one of those squishier targets up there. So it's not only just the junglers, though, but it's also the captains. You know, FlashX and Vanes, this was the matchup that, you know, us on the analyst desk, we wanted to really watch this matchup, and seeing which one of these captains can enable their jungler to make these aggressive plays and try and shut down their opponent is what's almost just as important as the junglers themselves.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, it's difficult as one of these two junglers, especially I would say in this matchup as the Baptiste, to be too aggressive. You don't want to put yourself too far out of position. A rotate could punish it very heavily. But now, with priority on the jungle shop, you can see the power spike for Best Chuck with that poison shiv and the fountain for Lance. Maybe Team Solo Mid look for something there.
They might, but it looks like they're just going to go back up into the lane. And, I mean, these rotations, both of these teams are kind of on the same rotations, but about 10 seconds offset from each other. It seems like there will be Gankstars all up in the lane looking for a gank, but there's nobody home from TSM. Then TSM makes that same rotation up just a little while later, but same situation. Now we have a 2-on-2 up in the lane, and just going to be looking for a little bit of damage trading. Again, if you can just get that little bit of an edge, just, you know, have your opponent be even just 100 health shot shorter than you are. If your junglers then make that rotation up, it gives you just that little bit you might need in order to make the trade go your favor.
FlashX, I'm not sure he realized Xenotech was so nearby. A very strong trade coming out of Gankstars. They take relatively little damage considering how much they do. But now Vainglory8's here. He's level 6. Fearsome Shade is available. He's going for it. 3-man hit with that ultimate. Huge damage out of Team Solo Mid. Iraqi Zoro cannot get Best Chuck on the back line. It's a kill for Team Solo Mid.
And it's that slight rotational difference. Vainglory8 was able to hit level 6 because he waited before coming up into the lane, using that Fearsome Shade for a kill, but TSM may not be done.
Yeah, they want more. So far unable to find it, though. Vanes with a nice escape from that Impale will not allow for Team Solo Mid to get the pressure on. They are finding some pressure onto the turret. Realistically, though, it's not too much just yet. Xenotech actually trying to compete with Vainglory8 and Flash here has got to be real careful. That's going to be the Impale. A Great Ordain set that up from Vainglory8. He's looking for Xenotech again. Xeno just got back from base, Bacon, and he's already taken down. Things are starting to snowball the way of Team Solo Mid.
And this is exactly what they were looking for with Vainglory8 on this Baptiste. They wanted to find these aggressive plays, and now they're going to go right back under the turret. Not even really necessarily looking for the fight, but just getting some chip damage on that turret, getting it a little bit lower, making it a little bit easier to take down later on. But those 3 kills that they have found, all of them onto Xenotech, are going to be big.
Oh, Best Chuck's got to be real careful here, though. Iraqi Zoro also has access to the ultimate now. One shot, one kill could come through for the snipe, but Von C makes his way up again. Von C constantly putting that pressure on. Xenotech trying to find the rotate. That's a fearsome shade. Xeno gets annihilated. Team Solomid are dominating in these fights, and now with Iraqi Zoro having no energy, he can't even look to find some kind of a return kill.
And both Iraqi and Vane's extremely low underneath this turret. Thankfully for them, Best Chuck did not decide to hard push that wave. Otherwise, we may have seen Von C go looking for some more kills. Instead, he's just going to go down to the jungle, steal away some camps from Xenotech, just again setting Xenotech further and further behind. He's now 12 CS back from Von C's Batiste, and they're going to be adding a gold mine to their coffers here on the side of Team Solomid. They are really starting to take off in this game. It's only a 2,000 gold lead, but we're also only 7 minutes in.
All right, so Iraqi Zoro just finished his Sorrow Blade and picked up some piercing on top. Best Chuck, in almost the same breath, actually locked in his second item. Now, both of Best Chucks are very cheap, but they are very efficient, and they're going to be doing a lot of work here until Iraqi Zoro can try and match up in terms of completed tier 3s. Team Solomid, they have a good window of opportunity to keep the pressure on.
They absolutely do, and here comes the rotation from the junglers up. We could be looking for something here.
Oh, man. Great impale, lands onto Iraqi Zoro. The gauntlet is there as well. He cannot get out of here. It's very risky. He's going to be able to get back behind the turret. Fearsome Shade didn't quite do enough. Von C hit by the one-shot, one-kill as well. If Xenotech can find another cooldown for Drifting Dark, maybe Gankstars think about turning it around, but that's going to be a good stun coming out. Oblivion zones Team Solomid away. Very back and forth fight so far with no energy on Best Chuck. It's hard for TSM to keep the pressure on unless Von C can find this flank. He's certainly looking for it, Iraqi Zoro, with the barrage of bullets too. Doing a nice amount of work with those glimmer shots. Von C, that's going to be Ordained, doesn't connect. He'll find the stun. Is there a fountain still available? No. Flash X has already burned that one. So honestly, Team Solomid, it's a bit risky for them to keep the pressure on here. Von C, he's got to be careful. He does get spotted out, but he finds that Treant. Does give him some regen. If he wants to keep the fight going, he might do in just that. Xenotech on the back line. Got to be careful about moving out of that Ordained. He does find Best Chuck. Von C can't get the snipe down onto Iraqi, and now Xeno is on the back line. 571. These bad mojos are doing so much work. Von C, his perk has ended, so he's going to be getting sustained again. He's looking for Xenotech. It's just not quite going to be enough. Surely Xenotech can pick up this kill. Vanes with the slow helps that one out. Flash X, the last man standing for Team Solomid. It was a great counter engage by Gankstars.
Yeah, very, very strong defense. Up in the lane is where that fight actually started. And they were able to just play really good defense. Also, a slight miscue. Von C threw out the Fearsome Shade just shortly after the gauntlet went down, and it actually connected onto Iraqi Zoro while he was still stunned from the gauntlet. So the Fearsome Shade effect actually didn't really have any effect onto Iraqi Zoro because he was already locked down. So because of that, then Gankstars were able to defend. Beautiful Oblivion from Xenotech, kept Team Solomid from being able to go for the dive that they originally wanted, and then just rotating down as a team, able to find Von C in the jungle. Flash X wasn't really willing to commit to trying to go all in and help Von C on that, and it was just a little bit of hesitation from Team Solomid allowed Gankstars to capitalize.
Yeah, I feel like Von C kind of reverted to perhaps some of his old ways there, being a bit too aggressive, trying to go for that Treant, and then the fight afterwards as well with Best Chuck not being healthy. It's just such a risky play to make, such an unnecessary play as well. Team Solomid, they are still 2,000 gold in the lead though, at around 10 minutes here. They've got a turret advantage. It does mean they can position forward on the map, try and catch Gankstars out, and really inhibit their ability to go for good rotations.
And taking a look at the items, you can see Best Chuck NA has a pretty sizable lead over Iraqi Zoro in terms of actual item power right now as this fight is about to kick off.
Yeah, this is a bit of a risky position for Solomid. Great gauntlet finds Best Chuck and Von C immediately. The silence comes out, but no one is there backing up Best Chuck. Von C, he's got damage, but he doesn't have enough for TSM to want to fight this one. Gankstars find the gold mine and a kill. They're even looking for more here, moving into the enemy jungle, thinking about that Crystal Sentry. Some nice poke onto Von C too. Man, definitely not the play you were looking for
no.
if your Team Solo Mid getting caught out like that.
Not at all. And like I said, they had an advantage. We're going to take a look at this replay here. Beautiful gauntlet. Stuns up 2 targets as it lands. One of those being Best Chuck, who just got deleted as a result. And then Flash got stunned up by the gauntlet as he was trying to leave as well. But up in the lane, we've got another fight going on.
Yeah, Raki Zoro, he submitted himself to dying there for the turret. Not the worst trade in the world, especially when you've already lost yours and the enemies are kind of far away from your second tier turret. It's not easy for Team Solo Mid to get something off the back of that kill. So if it's only 1 kill for a turret, again, seems like a not terrible trade. Will Best Chuck and the rest of Team Solo Mid commit here, though? Vanes is quite low in the center. That's going to be the Oblivion used to try and buy time, but Xenotech does not connect. Here comes a 1-shot, 1-kill. Flash just barely dodges it. Somehow Team Solo Mid eke out the turret kill. They want more as well. Wait for it, comes out, but it does not connect with Vanes. The fear, Max range, he gets the kill. Vonsy with the pickup. Xenotech can't find him. Vonsy's just barely alive. The heal from the bad mojo and his perk keeping him in the fight. And now Team Solo Mid have great position on the map to take the back camps and strangle out the resources from Gankstars.
Yeah, that was so close to not going Team Solo Mid's way, but that fearsome shade, like you mentioned, max range, just barely catching onto Vanes and getting enough damage onto him for the kill. But so impressive from that whole situation was Team Solo Mid able to take the tier 2 turret after picking up just a single kill. I thought for sure it was going to be a 1 kill for a turret trade. I was going to talk about how that's so worth it in terms of gold value, but it ends up not being the case. Team Solo Mid definitely getting the better of that sequence of events.
They really did, and you can see it in their gold differential right now, close to 4,000 in the lead. Still 2 minutes till the Kraken spawns, so Team Solo Mid has the opportunity, if they so choose, to really pressure the gold miner, maybe even push the wave up and back up to that one, take it for free before Kraken removes that objective from the map. Gankstars, they need to tighten up a little bit, Bacon, here. How do they start winning some more fights?
Really, it's just going to be about trying to find a situation where they don't get caught out, like they don't get one of their members just taken off the board right off the bat. They have a couple really nice engages with Vanes on the gauntlet, and they can get the Drifting Dark from safety. Like the Drifting Dark has to go out before Team Solo Mid tries to engage. That's really the only way that Xenotech is able to stay in it for any duration of time, because multiple times we've seen him throw it out right after TSM goes in, and then you have Batiste, Lance, both able to keep him out of the Drifting Dark, and they've been doing a great job of doing so when they're the ones that engage.
All right, Team Solo Mid, again with pressure on the map, have pushed a little bit into the entrance of Gankstars jungle and actually set up a nice line of scout traps covering most of the bushes they are in. That does mean that if Gankstars tries to set something up later when TSM back to the shop, or perhaps go for an objective in the middle of the map, they will have some idea of what Gankstars is attempting. Here we go, this is the gold mine take. I find it interesting that Vonsy pretty consistently uses Ordained on these neutral objectives. We saw earlier that almost get punished when Gankstars actually made the initiation, and he had already burned it there. I'm not sure I agree with the decision, to be completely honest, but
I think at
it
this
hasn't
point,
worked too badly yet.
I think at this point, because the cooldown on it is so low, that's why he opens with it, is because by the time a re-engage will come in, it's going to be off cooldown and will be available. It's only about a 7-second cooldown or so, so I don't have too much of an issue with the Ordained being used. Just a little bit extra damage, just taking that objective that much quicker, and especially now, like earlier in the game, yeah, it's not the greatest of ideas, but right now when they have so much vision control, you can see there's blue dots all over the middle of the map, like you were mentioning, AJ, and right now they're going to be potentially getting themselves into a fight because Gankstars are rotating up to the lane.
Nice and pale there. Vonsy, you can tell he wants to set something up. The Oblivion could be massive here as a disengage tool. You can see Xenotech firing that one off. He's going to get blocked though. Fearsome Shade, the wrong direction. Flash rolls right into the wall. Vonsy gets hit by the gauntlet as well. This is bad news for Team Solo Mid. Best Chuck cannot make the play happen. What a time to go down. Gankstars get an ace right as Kraken enters the Halcyon Fold. Bacon, this is bad news for Team Solo Mid.
Very bad news. Just about everything that could have gone wrong in that fight did go wrong. You had the Fearsome Shade go out, only hit a wave of minions because Gankstars ducked down into the jungle. The Gauntlet caught Flash, caught Vonsy, and left Best Chuck Henne all on his own. The other thing I want to point out is the infusions, and there was no infusion on Von C here either, and you can see just how quickly he goes down. Once that gauntlet lands, it's 2-3 shots at the most before Von C is picked off, and this is just it's been a problem with Von C in the games that TSM struggles in. More often than not, it's Von C not having really any defense. He did just pick up a reflex block, so that may go a long way towards helping them, but they have to hope it's not too little too late.
I think really Team Solo Mid needs to be more disciplined here in this game as well. They're going for a lot of these fights that are maybe a little bit too bold. Von C, look at the poke damage coming out. Flash keeps the rest of Gankstars from collapsing there, but they are going to lose the turret very quickly here. Team Solo Mid in a bad spot. Von C really needs to find time to go back to the Sanctuary and heal up, but at the same time, they've got this Kraken pushing in. It's so hard to make that call. Flash X now very low. Gauntlet pulled out. Von C, he used his reflex block, but didn't commit to leaving the Gauntlet. As a result, he gets stunned up. Team Solo Mid, they are going to be able to back away safely here, but things could have gone better for them as they lose 2 turrets after that Kraken push.
Team Solo Mid's gonna have to be thanking their lucky stars there. You had Best Chuck getting stunned by the Gauntlet. Von C, like you said, used the reflex block but didn't commit to leaving the Gauntlet. Threw out a fearsome shade that didn't connect onto anybody. TSM is lucky that they did not lose out on a fight and potentially the game with how far in Kraken was pushed at that point. So again, like you said, the discipline from Team Solo Mid just doesn't seem to be at the level that we normally expect it to be.
I've got to agree, and that's definitely a storyline for me from the entirety of this series, not just this game. It does feel like they're not playing as tightly as perhaps they have in the past. They certainly don't have the same level of warm-up that Gankstars did coming into this weekend, with Gankstars competing in the Mobile Masters Invitational up against Rock's Armada. Team Solo Mid, on the other hand, have had a break since the Unified Live Championship in London. This is their opportunity to show the world they're still on a strong footing, though, and Gankstars, it's their chance to say, hey, we swapped out Wrecked, we got in Veins, it's going well for us, regardless of the fact that we have not had a lot of time to really cement this lineup. It's a very impactful game when it comes to looking at the rest of this split and how things are being set in terms of the pace.
And I think another big indicator, and something that we'll have to talk about after this game, regardless of the end result, is Team Solo Mid, they drafted the exact same composition into the exact same composition as game number 1. You expect when this happens that the team that lost that game will come in with some sort of different game plan, some sort of different approach. And I'm not seeing that from Team Solo Mid. They're still approaching this fight and these fights and this game really the same way they did in game number 1. And they have to be careful because they may end up with a similar result.
Yeah, look at the poke damage coming out of Iraqi Zoro, finding a lot on the Best Chuck.
Nice.
That's going to be the Fearsome Shade blocked, but Xeno is very low on the back line. Best Chuck needs to back out of here. Von C on the front, doing some good damage. The Fountain doing a lot of work, keeping him alive. Flash does not find that impale. A nice stun onto him by Iraqi Zoro. The Team Solo Mid, they really want to keep this chase going. Iraqi Zoro first to fall in the fight. Best Chuck picks him up. Flash is answered. Xeno is still full health. The sustain on a Samuel is massive here. Von C does have some of his own, though. Look at the damage, 872. These vials are doing some serious work, Bacon. One more would do it, but Von C does not connect. Fearsome Shade lands. It's going to be the ace for Team Solo Mid. They've managed to crack the team fight and the composition that they struggled with before and actually pick up a very solid win in that one. Looking towards Kraken now. This could be very big for Team Solo Mid, Bacon.
It very much can. What a beautiful start to that fight, though. It was the Gauntlet getting canceled at the very beginning that I think is the reason Team Solo Mid is even able to try and chase and turn this one around. Not only that, but Von C, again, getting so much burst onto Veins, and then Best Chuck just staying safe, staying just on the outskirts of this fight for so long. And once it came down to this 2-on-2 situation, Xenotech was full health, but the massive damage, 872, followed by a 450 bad mojo. There's just nothing you can do about that. And then the fight went on long enough that Von C was able to use Fearsome Shade twice during a single engagement.
That is absolutely obscene. The clockwork he picked up obviously really helping with that. I do think it's a great item on Baptiste, not only because you're often in these extended fights, but also you want to be spamming those bad mojos for poke and sustain, keeping your perk on a cycle so that you can get as much out of it as possible. Team Solo Mid, they're pushing into the base now. Only 2 turrets stand for Gankstars.
And this is going to get really risky here. Can Gankstars defend with the Kraken bearing down onto these final 2 turrets? Team Solo mid, they're going to look for an engage at some point. Here we go.
All right, Flash X finds the root. That's a good bad mojo as well, splashing onto everyone. Flash, the only person who's really taking damage on Team Solo mid. Here comes the gauntlet, though. You can see the exchange coming out. Gankstars want to fight this one. Good wait for it, though. First kill goes away of Team Solo mid. Iraqi Zoro, he's got to do the damage, but he does not find it. Xeno, he's looking for the splash. Flash does block a lot of that, though. I don't think Xenotech can do this.
I don't think so either.
The Kraken is wailing on the turret. It's still very healthy. Xeno, he is in good shape, but it's not going to be enough. A stun comes out. Xeno, he can't find a single kill. No one is going to die on Team Solo mid, or will they? He's trying to get him. All right, he finds one, but the Kraken finishes off the Vein Crystal. Team Solo mid take week 1 of North America in the Vainglory8 summer season.
What a way to end the game. It was looking so similar to game number 1, not just because of the hero comps, but the way the game was playing out was going the same way. I mean, it really kind of did go the same way until the push into the base. Even in game number 1, Team Solo mid had a push into the Gankstars base, but that was where they got foiled and ended up losing the game as a result. This time, they stayed clean, they stayed true, they win the last team fight with Kraken bearing in and take first place in the first week of Vainglory8.
All right, impressive stuff there from Team Solo mid. Let's pass it back to the desk where you are, Bacon, for the last time today as we wrap up week number 1.
All right, welcome back to the desk, everyone. What a game, what a series. TSM take it in the end, but honestly, by the skin of their teeth, that could not have been any closer. I mean, I'll give you a minute to catch your breath, Bacon. Sweejay, what do you make of that series? Where do you even start?
Yeah, it's crazy back and forth. I mean, it was insane in terms of like how the roam plays. I mean, Flash and Veins really made the plays happen. And Vonsi with the fears, canceling the gauntlet that one